Hi everyone, I'm Sarah, Childhood Finds. Welcome to my weekly What Sold video. Before we get started, I was going to answer some viewer questions, but I've actually had something come up that I feel like I need to talk about instead for this What Sold video, and that is a garage sale scam that came across my Craigslist, and it was a good one, and that's why I want to share it because it is something that I know people are going to fall victim to, and it makes me very sad that it will happen because I mean, it was very convincing. It was a very good ad. It was very articulate, and it wasn't the typical type of ads, where they say, like, please kindly, or that kindly seems to always be a scammer word. It just always seems to be. But the English was really good, and it made me upset that they were targeting this area. And when I went and dug deeper, I actually found they were targeting more than just my area. And what it was is they posted up that they had a big, massive garage sale coming up on Saturday. They weren't going to release the exact address until a day or two before the sale. That's not a immediate red flag by any means, but they said they were going to have, vintage t-shirts, records, toys, everything from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, all the highly desirable reseller items. And that is, you know, that of course is something people are going to fight over, and it's going to catch interest. I saw this ad just about an hour after it popped up. And so they said that they would do pre-sales, but here's where it starts to get a little gross sounding. They would do pre-sales, but there would be absolutely no pickups before Saturday. You had to pick it up on Saturday, but there had to be prepayment, which, it kind of depends on when that could be bad or not. I just wanted to dig deeper. So I reached out and said, I'm very interested in all your vintage t-shirts. What are you looking to get out of them? And also, how are you doing your pre-sales? And so then they said there's about 300. They're just, they're mostly, concert and sport, acting like it was nonchalant what they had. And they said they had, about 300, and that they wanted 460. So obviously, any reseller that has sold vintage t-shirts and saw the pictures would jump on top of that price. And so I said, yes, I will buy that. So how are you doing your pre-sales? And they said, well, Cash App and Zelle, etc. And so I started to probe a little. I said, I am a bit uncomfortable sending that because that provides no buyer protection if the transaction isn't completed. And is there any way that I could just be there at 8 a.m. on Saturday and pay cash then? And of course, it was absolutely not that. No way. And then I did a little further after they said that. I said, what if I'm willing to pay double and pay in cash Saturday morning? Would I be able to purchase this lot? And they said, we're going to stick to our process. We're just going to move on to the next person. And it was just, I'll put up some of the screenshots I have of the ad and some of the text here. And I'm definitely paraphrasing. I am shrinking it down so this isn't a 20-minute conversation. But it was just, please just be careful, especially if they want prepayment, because I blocked it before I went further because I was thinking, I'm like, I could probably do PayPal goods and services because that offers some buyer protection. So I was considering mentioning that. But if their first thing they're saying is Cash App or Zelle, don't do it, guys, because there's no protection for you if that doesn't go through. And they told me that after payment, they will tell me the address. And I poked at them, and you could tell they were getting annoyed that I was poking at it. And it makes me sad because obviously it would have been the absolute haul of a lifetime of shirts there was. But I also did a little bit further after I'd talked to them, and I went and I did a reverse image search on multiple pictures that they had in their ad. And I found them in random odd places. So it wasn't their photos. And also I found it in other places that they had this Craigslist ad. And so I am just putting out that warning. If there's ever a pre-sale and they are not willing to have you pick it up in person before the sale and give them the money or transfer the money in person with the item, just don't do it, guys. Unless I don't know. I'm sure there's situations where it would be okay, But for the most part, please just protect yourself and don't let them take advantage of you, because the reason they asked the price they did for those shirts is because they knew that most resellers would jump on that price. And so it makes me sad that people in my area might have gotten taken advantage by that. And of course, the ad or the Craigslist ad is down now. I did flag it after I talked to them. I mean, that's all I could do to try to protect the people in my area, but I just wanted to share about it. Let me know if anything like this has popped up in your area, or if there's been any sort of garage sale scams that you have seen, because it was a good one. It was a good one. I have to say it was a very good one, and it was enticing. So I stuck to my guns and I wasn't willing to, but I could absolutely see in my younger reselling days that I might have done it, and it would have been easy to. So if you are a person that's ever fallen victim to that, please you know, don't beat yourself up. It happens to all of us. It's just sad that others are taking advantage of people in that way. So guys, that's all I have to say about that. And now we're going to get started onto some sales. Just quick stats is I listed not quite what I wanted to this week, and I listed 86 new items on eBay and roughly around $2,900 worth, so a little below what my goal is. And then I sold 78 listings across 3 platforms. One was on Poshmark and one on Mercari, so cross listing was not good this week. But I sold over 3,000 gross. Remember, gross, not net, on eBay. So let me start showing you some of those sales. This one here is a Martino Cartier pink hot, I think that's how you pronounce that, stuffed turbo ionic hair dryer. And I got this at a yard sale where everything was very cheap, and I think I paid about $2 for it. I ended up taking a best offer of $42 for it because it didn't have a lot of history of selling, but it was a good brand. And $42 after I paid $2 was just fine. This is a Ralph Lauren ski skiers cabin sweater vest, and it was wool. It sold for a best offer of $157. And the beautiful thing is it's going international. And I got this from my source. It took a few months to sell, but it had a little bit of flaws on it. Otherwise, it was in nice shape, and it was a good sale. This has been listed probably over a year now, but I knew that it would eventually sell for good money. And it's an Irish Wolfhound solid brass vintage belt buckle. And it sold for a best offer of $65, which I was more than happy to take when I got that offer in. I was like 5 or 6 of these dog breed type belt buckles, and there wasn't a ton of history of them selling. So I kind of had to educated guess pick prices. And yeah, when I got 65, that was fine. I paid 5 for it. This I got from my source, and these weren't worth a lot by themselves, but I lotted up these RPGs. It's a pound of flesh, Dead Planet Sci-Fi RPG for the Mothership lot. And so I think they all kind of went together, and it sold for the sale price of $22.95. I will say I have pretty much had to do a sale the last month or so. Otherwise, my sales are just not very good. A lot of my sales are from doing a sale, and I'm only doing about 8 to 10% off. And then, of course, I take offers still as well, but I am having to do sales to keep my numbers up. And this week again, I was trying not to do it, and by Wednesday, my sales were just so darn bad that I had to do it. And then, of course, after I did the sale, they increased. So I'm just going to keep up with that for right now. I usually don't, I usually like to save sales for, Black Friday, Christmas time, etc. But I don't mind giving a discount because I do price competitively. So it really is a discount when I do my sales. I don't factor it into my price when I'm pricing. I don't price things 10% higher or 15% higher to do a sale with, just personally on my own account. And this is Journal of a High Country Hunter, Duncan Gilchrist, a 1992 hardcover slipcase. This is by Safari Press, which is something to look for, and it sold for a best offer of $55. This is why sometimes you can just stick to your gun on prices. I knew this would sell for around this price, and the person wasn't terrible with offers by any means, but I just kept countering back at 55, and that was the price I was going to take. And they eventually took it and then left good feedback when they got the item. And so sometimes if you want to stick to your price, that's okay. This is a Sony Handycam, just the operating guide. And I got this. I think I forgot to list it with the Handycam and found it. So I went, well, I could probably make a couple more dollars. And I made $7 off of this. But I mean, it's so easy. This was so easy to list and ship. Fine. And I made a few more dollars off that I wasn't expecting. This is Lamb Gwen Stefani black leather handbag, purse, tote bag, and it sold for a best offer of, I believe it was $40 or $42, somewhere right around there. And it was definitely that kind of vintagey style. I had a ton of interest. This had so many views and so many watchers, and it finally sold. I had a ton of interest on Depop for it as well. One frustrating thing that I'm running into with some of the other platforms when I cross list, like Depop, I believe Depop only has 8 photos. And that really hinders me because I use a lot of photos to show my items. And so I'm finding people are asking a lot more questions because not all the photos are transferring because, I mean, they don't support that many photos like on eBay where you can have a bunch. And that I definitely think is hurting some of my sales on the other platforms because not as many of the details are being shown. So that's one thing to consider. You might need to go in and pick and choose which photos you have on those platforms when you're cross listing. This is Cookie Run Princess Cookie Plush Doll Stuffed Toy Kingdom Oven Break. It's a game because I didn't recognize it but thought this could be something, but it is a game and it sold for $125 on a best offer. I'd say it took a couple weeks to sell. This is proof that a single skein of yarn is still worth it to sell. It just depends on what you get. And this is Emma's Super Silky Yarn, Merino Silk hand dyed, and the color was Freshly Cut was the name of it. And it sold for $16.16. I believe it was on a sale price. And I paid like, I don't know, a quarter for it. This is Cherished Teddies from Around the World cross stitch. There are 5 of them, and they really weren't worth it to list on their own. They've been listed a very long time, and so I got an offer for $15 and went, fine, it's yours, and took the offer because I'm in the money for these. I probably have a couple dollars total into the lot, so I'm just taking a lot of offers, guys. I just want to move stuff. This is Sprocket Gyro Spring DC Unlimited World of Warcraft action figure, and it sold for $32.15 on my sale price. Here's a Black Laws dictionary. I have found a few of these this year, and this is the 4th edition. I got this one from my source, and it sold very quickly for the $55.15. You do need to check the editions and condition. That will alter the value on those, but they're almost always worth picking up. This is Yestermorrow, signed, inscribed by Ray Bradbury, 1st edition. And it sold for $22.95, so I cheated a little here. I typically only put inscribed in the title, but I feel like it's just not getting out there. And basically everybody and their mother puts signed, even though technically it's inscribed when it's personalized. So I'm putting signed if I have room for it, but I'm always going to start with inscribed because I just want to be honest about it. And then, of course, having pictures of it. This is Water Drop Compatible Under Sink Water Filter. This was a bit out of my typical zone of items, but it was at an estate sale. It was in a box. They were brand new. There was no price on them. And so I paid $3, and I think it sold within a day of listing for $26. So totally worth it. These I just got at a recent sale. I have maybe $2 into them, but you guys have seen these books on my channel before. It's the Foxfire book, volume 1 through 3, and this one was a box set. It was nice in its little thing. I've got 1 through 5 at a sale that I sold, and every once in a while I find these. And this one did sell for the $30 very quickly after listing. This is Versace Bright Crystal Absolute Women EDP spray, and it sold for $22.95. It was new without its box. It hadn't been used, and it sold within a day of listing, and I paid $1 for this at an estate sale. This I just got at an estate sale as well, and it's Estee Lauder Knowing Eau de Parfum spray. It was 0.18 ounces, super teensy tiny, but it still sold for $15 within a couple days of listing, and I have about $1 into it or so. This is Aftershok's Trex Air Open Ear Wireless Bone Conduction Headphones. And these were new open box, so I could tell they hadn't been used, but the seal was broken. They still sold for a best offer of $50, and I got these at an estate sale for $2, I think. And this is Nassif BioClock Dermaceuticals 4-ounce Hydro Screen Super Hydrating Serum. I got this at an estate sale for $1. All of the kind of, I guess, what do you call it? Makeup, or what do you call it? Beauty stuff, beauty products. All of the beauty products, like the hair dryer and the other stuff earlier, they did come from one sale. Some of it, not quite all of it, but a lot of it came from one sale that I just got really lucky for, that I found right before I went on my trip. But this one did sell for $55, and just, yeah, that sale was killer because I paid like nothing. They just wanted to get it out because they were overwhelmed with the amount of stuff, as you are when you have to take care of an estate. Here's actually a record, and this one obviously came from my source because I've told you that records are very hard to find in my area now. And this is Beatles' White Album. There was no poster pics. You do need to check your items because sometimes they do come with extras, so you just need to be clear if they don't come with that. And it did sell for the $22.95. This I got at an estate sale with 2 other toner cartridges, and this is, again, you typically your toners won't have expiration dates, and it's okay if they are older. These were from, I think, 2008 or 2009, but still sold for $41.35. They are Samsung Black High Yield Toner Cartridge, and it had box damage to it. I picked it up for $10 at an estate sale. This is F4U Corsair Pilot's Instruction Manual. This is a reproduction of it, but it still sold for $13.75. I got it for $1 at an estate sale. These I just got. My mother-in-law grabbed them at an estate sale for $15 with another set of Cutco. And these are the 1729 serrated carver and 1721 serrated trimmer. They were in absolutely beautiful condition, and they had the very desirable pearl white handle. So $70, they went very fast. This I showed in a haul video quite a long time ago. I finally got it listed. I'm trying to make myself really go through items now, and once I touch it, I need to decide if it's, being discarded because it's damaged, if it's worth going into a garage sale, or if it's something I want to list. And this is German Steiff Collie Dog Laying Plush Mohair Stuffed Animal, and it did not have any tags or an ID on it, but it still sold for $40 within a few days of listing. This is Pivo Silver Edition Rotation and Auto Tracking Kit and Smart Mount. This one really surprised me. I grabbed these and I thought those aren't going to be worth very much, but I put this a lot together of this stuff that I got from my source, and it sold for $62.95 within a few days. And the next 2 lots went to the same buyer. I've had these listed for a while. I got them at an estate sale, and they're brass hardware drop bale pull drawer handles, furniture decor, and 6 inches. So what they want to know is, usually they want to know from center to center of the screw holes. I try to show it on a tape measure as well, but that's typically what you're going to get asked. And this sold with this lot of 5 of them. They both sold to the same buyer. These have been listed a long time, but I only paid $1 for them at a yard sale. I think it's probably been almost 2 years now, but they're men's Wrangler Authentics. Wrangler Authentics are the ones that come off of Amazon, I believe, and so not as desirable, but they're still they're regular fit khaki jean, and they are a larger size. And $21, again, they don't care that it took a while to sell. They just don't. This is Callie Skechers Women's Beverly Date Glam Wedge Sandals. These were cute. If they were my size, I probably would have kept them. And I got these from my source, and they did sell for the $33.99. But unfortunately, at size 8, they were not going to fit my feet. This is Cabin Critters Canada Goose Fowl Plush. This is 10 inches tall, And it's just a basic little plush, but it was cute and it sold for $15. I think it took probably a few months to sell. And this one and the next one went together. These are small little stand-up frames, and it's ornate floral tabletop stand-up frame, metal silver pewter tone from the 1980s. This one sold with this one, and they sold for around $26 or so together. And they're like, yeah, not even 5 inches tall is how big they were. Okay, you guys have saw him in a haul video, and I finally got him listed as well. And it's Rushton. If you remember the haul video, his name was lovingly pooped in because we got him at a rummage sale and he smelled like sewer. And then my mother-in-law lovingly got that scent out of him and got him not smelling like a sewer. So he is still pooped in my eyes, but it was so ironic that technically he's a skunk. But it's a rubber face plush, and I put Reed as is because he had some stuff going on with him. But with Rushton, they can just look like garbage and still sell very well. I just always leave all the cleaning to the buyer, and I didn't do any cleaning. I just got the poop smell out of his. I probably shouldn't be talking about his poop smell that I sent to a buyer, but he smells clean. He does. But I don't do any cleaning on them other than that. Like, I didn't throw him in the wash. This was good old sunlight help. And I think, what else did we do? We put him in the freezer with baking soda, not like on him, but with baking soda in the sealed container with him. So I'm just trying to remember what we did, but ended up smelling nice, fresh, and clean. I do have a video on plush that includes Rushton that I'll link in the description if you haven't seen it. But $70, I got this at a rummage sale. It was like 11, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and I paid $1 for him. This is Arthur Court pewter silver tone picture frame, and this I got at an estate sale for a few dollars. It took quite a while to sell though, but it sold for $23.50. This was just an assorted lot of brass animals I had from a couple recent sales, and it's a penguin, pig, and a seal, and they sold for $15.95 actually very quickly. So I'm trying to do more lots nowadays, trying to just, I was criticizing myself earlier because I realized I should have done some lot on some items I listed. So I'm trying to do more lots just to kind of bring that average price up a bit and just save, time. Because yes, I could have listed all these guys separately, but they sold very quickly for $16 altogether. This is Reed & Barton Regency Glossy Scrolls Teaspoons. They have been listed for quite a while, but you know how I feel about that with flatware especially, and they sold for $33.95 though. And this one I wanted to share just because I typically do not pick up ones that are just going to sell singles, but I got a lot of these, and this was the only teaspoon that didn't have complete and utter garbage disposal damage on it. And this is a WMF Cromargen Laurel Germany teaspoon. And typically I don't like to list singles, but I mean, it's worth $11. Sometimes I will combine it with like the soup spoons or something, but $11, I'd list an $11 item any day. So why wouldn't I with these? I just won't list single pieces of flatware if they're only worth a couple bucks. That's my limit. This I just got at a yard sale for 50 cents, and it's just a cute little trinket box. It's a peanut, and it sold for $15 within a week. This I got at an estate sale, I think last year or early this year, and it's how to build a tea bucket roadster under $3,000. Chester Greenhall, and it's inscribed. This is actually, it's like the very first draft of this book, and it's the name changed slightly into the second. So this is very early, and it did sell for $100. It just took a little bit of time to find the right buyer, and I had 50 cents into it. This is the Powered Parachute Bible, Pilot Handbook by George A. Bigu, and it sold for $25. I got this at an estate sale for a couple bucks, so I was fine to take the offer. And this is Dansk Variation 5 Finland H2 teaspoon stainless flatware, and this sold for $74.95. I've sold this pattern before, but I actually just picked up another lot of it. It was an estate sale where they posted up pictures, and I could see this in the pictures, and I knew exactly the brand and exactly the pattern, so I went flying into the kitchen. And then there was this one person blocking the flatware. They weren't even interested in flatware, and they were just staring at two pots that were next to it, and it killed me. I felt bad because I was just hovering behind them, but I wasn't gonna let the flatware go. But I gave them their space, and they finally moved. But it felt like an eternity that I waited for them, because I couldn't make myself just run in front of them to grab the flatware. So, but it was painful. It was painful waiting, and but I paid $50 for the set of flatware. These 3 teaspoons sold for $75. And this is Alan Stewart Men's XL Retro Disco Pullover Shirt Banded Waist Abstract Brown Tan. I got this at an estate sale for $5 with a couple other like this, and it sold for $30. It just took a little bit of time to sell. So guys, that's everything I'm sharing with you today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm a little slow on this what sold video. I was just having some struggles at the beginning of this week, dealing kind of with motivation and mental health a little bit. So it just took me a little more to get to this video, but I'm feeling a little better. So I will also hopefully get another haul video out that I'm working on this week as well. So guys, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one.